times a year, almost 400,000 copies of the Word for Today are printed here in Kettering. 30 years ago, the first print run was just 1,000 copies.
I had a friend that works at UCB who rang me up one day and said, my boss has just come back from America and wants to know if he could print a booklet for me. So we arranged a day and I went down there and he threw this book in my hand and said, that's what we want you to print. And he said, well, we're only doing 4 editions, just a year. I said, oh, okay. We started printing in the garage, we collated in the lounge, and we stapled it in the lounge, basically. And after the 4th one, Gareth rang me again and said, I'm just thinking, Neil, what colour should we have the next cover? I said, the next cover? I said, I thought you were only doing 4. And from there on, it just took off. I think we got up to about 3,000 copies in my garage. And after that, we ended up with a 20,000 square foot factory, which was a change from my garage. Then we needed an even bigger press, which could do colour. The Word for Today was the only job we had.
One person who was greatly impacted by Word for Today was one of Neil's staff, Sid O'Neill.
I went to church for weddings, funerals and christenings. They were the only 3 times I went to church. And I was more interested in the buffet at the end of that than I was in what was actually going on. I'd helped print the Word for Today, but I never read it. It didn't make a great deal of sense to me. But gradually, you know, as you're running that press, I started to read the words. And I guess it was the first time I'd ever read scripture, reading those Word for Todays. Yeah, gradually, you know, the interest grew. A few months into working for Neil, he gave me a CD and it had some music on it. And it was a guy singing Psalm 23. Of course, I didn't know it was Psalm 23. I didn't even know it was in the Bible. I just thought it was a nice song, but the words of Psalm 23 just got me. And I broke and I started to cry and ended up sat there in this factory on my own crying, speaking to God, saying, I don't really know what you're up to and I don't really know what you want. And I guess I'm acknowledging that you're real and for some reason you want something to do with me. And I said, and I guess I've been running from you for a long time. So I'm going to stop running from you and try running towards you and see what happens. Through my interactions with UCB and the Word for Today and Neil, God reached down to me and spoke to me through that psalm.
30 years since those first copies of the Word for Today were printed in Neil's garage, Neil and Sid have come to see the scale of the printing operation now.
We've seen a machine today that does the cover and everything that's needed to finish the cover in one pass. Printed both sides, perforated, glued, folded into cover, ready for collating and binding. It's very impressive, it really is. To see today the amount of copies you do, where it's done, how it's done, it's fantastic, it really is.
It's just remarkable. It used to take us all our time and all our efforts, all our emotions to get these books out the door. And to come here and see these modern machines and to look at the lads printing them, it's been a great treat.
Great is your faithfulness certainly applies to Word for Today. It's been 30 years, dear me. And he's certainly been faithful to UCB and the Word for Today. That's obvious. It really is. The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up.
And that's what encourages me about God. Even when I let him down, great is his faithfulness. He never gives up on me. It's just remarkable, but not surprising that we're here 30 years later. And these books, they look great, and they're still impacting and changing lives. And not just in English, in lots of other countries as well. It's amazing to see how God has just kept this ministry going, because it's obvious that he's part of it and it was his will that it should succeed. And so you can see that it's not an idea of man, you know, it was God's plan all along. And you can see all the pieces fitting in, where he pulled people together, you know, where he just pulled us all together for his purpose.